think big. I'm shopping with Barbara Streisand. You have to look the part. And I'm like, that's Michael Jackson's mother.
So I'm calling in my man Phineas so I can figure out what this thing is worth.
I did his first time on Hiddenhurst Casino right after the Thriller happened. I was like, oh, what are we doing? I didn't know I was in my job. The greatest thing I learned since I was 19 was the fine arts. Let's take out the ceiling. I want to go home. Thumbs up for that show. That's just so great.
Click the link to join Decor Boss today. Are you ready to become the decor boss you were born to be? Kick back, relax, grab some popcorn and Prosecco. Let's join our host, Christy Tasker, and meet today's Decor Boss TV design mentor.
So, you're almost Doc, the man who needs no introduction.
Well, thank you.
But guess what? Everyone wants to know all about you because you're always so dapper.
Well, thank you.
And you look amazing. And you're an interior designer.
Well, I am, of many years.
And people just don't believe it. So we're going to talk all about your projects and
thank you.
Decor Bosses. So if you haven't had a chance to come to, especially Las Vegas market, that is where I first met Doc.
Yeah.
And he is literally the king of steampunk and just the the pristine, most dressed, well-dressed, dapper man I know.
Thank you, Christy. Wow, what a nice opening. Wow, I can't go wrong with that.
So tell everybody about you, what you do, and how you operate your designer business.
Well, I've been decorating a long time, and I mean really long. I think I'm the grandfather that grandfathered everybody into ASID, you know. But how this all started with me was my parents had an absolutely drop-dead gorgeous chandelier store. And when I was 14, they were like, can you help us with visual display? They noticed I had this ability that I think that a lot of people are just born with, where you understand scale.
Yeah.
I understood texture at a very young age. And
you've been dressed in texture today.
I do every day. You know, I'm just so aware in fashion. And my mother was one of the coordinators for a lot of fashion magazines. So she already had me modeling on television. When I was 6, 7, 8 years old, I was already out on the catwalk, so I knew how to dress. I was with all of these really important fashion people. And I think that had a big influence kind of on where I went. So people would come into my father's shop and say, who designed this place? This is great. And he goes, my 14-year-old son.
Oh. So that's how you started.
That's how I got started. And one thing led to another. I attended Berkeley. And in the course of my studies and everything, I was very interested in two things. I loved interior design, decorating, antiquities, and I also loved acting and television and film. So somehow I've just been able to merge all these things together.
You do an amazing job of that.
Well, thank you.
When I'm in Italy, I think I've seen you in Vogue Italy. Right?
Yes.
Yes.
I've been in Vogue Italy.
It's so awkward. I open up the Vogue Italy magazine.
Yeah.
And there you are.
Yeah,
I'm
there
like,
I am. You know, I've been in La Mia Casa with Princess Marina Pinatelli, and she put me in an editorial 14 pages, Baryshnikov for just saying, you know. But I loved it that there was some kind of spotlight on the work that I was doing with my clients. It's a journey, it's an adventure with them. I take them from, many of my clients come into a lot of money very fast. They don't have a background, they want to entertain, and they want a house that will not embarrass them.
Yeah.
So we start talking about fabrics and floors and architectural ideas. One client, I said, I think what we should do is build, and let's go to England. I'm going to drive through the English countryside. When you see a house you like, go, that's the house. And we did it. We went to England.
Really?
Picked out the house, met Lady Churchill at Blenheim Castle, and started looking at fabrics in the castle.
Make sure you're telling them.
And fabrics in the castle.
Yeah.
And we came to Vegas.
Who else has the like? How many of you really have Come on, this is like you get like the dream job.
Well, it is. I don't know how I looked out that way,
No,
but
you don't. It's not look out. I think it's because you dress your brand.
I dress my brand, and I think I've been doing this so long, since a little kid, that it's just a natural thing I'm very glib about. I know the antiquities, I can help them with antiques and with art, and it's just a total journey. I even take people shopping at Saks and Neiman's and show them how to dress once we do these beautiful houses. Because a lot of people, they don't know how to set the table. They don't know what to wear. They've come from construction. I made a lot of money in Vegas.
Yep.
So I tried to help them in a total journey of doing that. One lady came to me and she said, well, Doc, I did the unthinkable. I went to Ireland and bought a 15th century castle with a moat. And so, is there any way that you could come and help me? My family's scared to go there. My kids won't go near it. They think it's haunted, you know?
Yeah.
So I headed off to Ireland for 3 months.
That's
And
amazing.
lived in County Tipperary, you know, in a beautiful little 15th century castle with the moat, the whole thing. I'm suddenly learning that you can't get hot water unless you call the boiler man.
Oh
you know,
my gosh.
It's just...
Does he have a cell phone?
No. It's more like, hello, I need the boiler man. We have no hot water in the castle. Oh, you're the crazy Americans that bought the haunted castle? I'm like, excuse me, Elaine said haunted? You know?
And so how do you go about getting furnishings for a castle?
Well, how do you go about getting furnishings? Sometimes you really have to take lemons and make lemonade. You know what I'm saying? Like, we started searching the Irish countryside for everything that we could find, from antique shops to estate sales. Took a trip over to London, bought the really good stuff, the main stuff that we needed, and went and got fabric, you know, on Bond Street and, you know, any place that we could find really great stuff. I've even ended up in the silver vault, and with a magnifying glass, looking at the, you know, provenance of the silver, so that she could have authentic silver in the castle.
Oh, wow.
So I mean, that was a total
That's
experience.
amazing. And how do you determine if silver is real? So tell everyone, because we have a lot of future decor bosses out there that have
Of
no idea
course.
how to tell if silver
Well,
is real.
how do you know if silver is real? On the back of silver, especially English silver, which is some of the best silver in the world, you know, you use your magnifying glass and you look at the little stamps that are there, and all of those stamps mean something. So I have been trained since I went to school in England to look at a stamp and I go, oh, that's from Shepperton. That's very, very good. That's a good piece. And then, you know, when I'm on the TV shows like Pawn Stars, Mysteries at the Museum, on the Antiques Roadshow, I'm basically giving the provenance on a lot of this silver. Anything people bring into pawn, I need to know that person, that resource person, how much it's worth. So a lot of that comes from the silver vault, and it's just you know, you have to know your stamps, and there are books you can go through. And the books will say, oh, EP means this, and that's a great piece of silver.
That's amazing.
I try to
so
guide
everybody, remember that. Stamps on the back of the silver.
Yes, stamps on the back of the silver,
Okay.
and they're all hallmarks. They're called hallmarks, and you have to learn how to recognize them to know good silver from fake silver.
Yeah. So you guys may be wondering, like, why we moved on a beautiful emerald green sofa.
Wow.
That's because we're in the Nick Allen showroom here in Las Vegas Market, and it is packed, and we were by Nick's #1 cash chandelier. Yeah. Doc, we have a couple of people that have questions for you already.
I love that. Fantastic.
So, Kathy,
So, Doc, I actually have 2 questions for you. My
Okay.
first one is, what's your single biggest simple pleasure?
Okay.
And my second question is, what's the single thing people do wrong when they're entertaining? What one thing would you correct?
Okay. Well, your first question, I love that question, by the way. And, you know, I travel a lot, and I had the opportunity with one of my clients to go to Morocco not too long ago. And I got so influenced, not only by the tiles, but the way that they do a bath. And I thought, you know, if I could ever treat myself, I'm going to treat myself to a real Moroccan hammam. And the hammam is a bath where you kind of, you steam, you have beautiful lamps from Morocco. I draped my bath with 150 yards of fabric.
Wow.
When I got back, I was so influenced by North Africa.
Wow.
And so when I wake up in the morning, I have all these beautiful Moroccan robes. I light candles. I pour this bath. I put rose petals. I do everything that I learned in that country, and I give myself a beautiful bath. And a lot of men don't do that. Men just take showers,
Yeah.
you know? And I thought, wow, what a treat to just sit there and steam. Now I can face
Yeah,
my day.
that's
I
true.
feel good. I'm relaxed. And I light all these candles. I have one of those candle wands. So I can go like that and light 50 candles in the hammam. So I have a real Moroccan bath.
Like you're nice to yourself.
I'm really nice to
Yeah,
myself.
self-care.
And a lot of guys I know, they just wake up and they're like, oh God, I got a hangover, I'm gonna take a shower.
Yeah.
I just can't live like that. You
Yeah.
know? It's gotta
That's
be.
not really life.
It's not life.
Yeah.
And my female friends get that.
Yeah.
You know that how important a bath is.
Yeah.
So I want to give guys out there the permission, give yourself a nice bath.
Okay.
And maybe do it as a couple. Mine's big enough that it could be a couple thing that you guys could do, you know?
Yeah.
It's an intimacy, it's beautiful, have a glass of wine, a lovely steam. Why not
that's
treat yourself
nice.
if you could have that in your home?
Sounds delightful.
So that's my guilty
Yeah.
pleasure.
Yeah. and so Kathy, what was the
And the
other one?
second question is the biggest faux pas.
The people do when they're entertaining. What's the one thing you would correct?
The one thing I think that I would correct is kind of watching when you give a dinner party our seating charts. That used to be a science, and now it's kind of gone to the wind. And so I've been to, you know, beautiful homes that I decorated the dining table. All the kids are texting. Nobody's really there. You know what I'm saying? And they no longer do boy girl boy girl. Okay, I get that. That doesn't have to be. But try to put people together around the table. Now what I do is I do the little name cards and I put their names in Swarovski crystals when they come over to my house. So it's really nice. You can see little Doc there, you know. And I try to put people together that I think would have interesting conversation, that would get along. There's just too much divisiveness in politics in America right now. And I've seen these political discussions, like they're putting like a very, very liberal person next to a very, very conservative person. And then it's like your dinner party just is horrible. So really watch who you put next to one another. There's a story about Rosalind Russell. She went to the White House during Harry Truman, and she looked at the next placard and she goes, "Oh, Mrs. Vanderbilt, is that Mrs. Vanderbilt who wrote the famous book on etiquette?" And she said, "Oh, why yes, I'm that self-same Mrs. Vanderbilt." And Rosalind Russell said, "I'd just like to let you know you've just eaten my salad." Wow. So, you know what I'm saying? So,
funny.
you know, there could be so many faux pas with your dining. I just don't know if I put Rosalind Russell next to Mrs. Vanderbilt.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? That's
exactly.
going to be
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
disaster.
That's too
So
funny.
watch how you put people together and just tell people, hey, you know what, my dining table, no politics and no religion.
Yeah,
That just
that's-
is not going to happen there, other than a
Yeah.
prayer before the food.
Yeah.
But to have those discussions, you're just inviting indigestion. Why?
Yeah,
You know, we have
exactly.
enough of that on TV. So,
That's so true.
So I try to keep that a neutral zone. You know, discussions that are just good, help you love one another and digest your food and enjoy great food and a great meal. Nice thing of flowers. Who wants to have a political
Do you
discussion?
direct the conversation too at the dinner table? Do you maybe start, because one of the things my husband
Yep.
does, he always starts he'll start a dinner table with, or a dinner conversation with, tell me about so and so in your life, or how did this get started?
I think that's a beautiful thing to
Yeah.
do. And it really is, I feel personally, the hostess's position. That is, to me, the woman is in charge of that part of the home. She's in charge of that. And I think it's wonderful for her to speak up and say, okay, these are the rules of my dining table. This is my
Yeah.
dining table in my home.
Yeah.
So I just don't
I
have
love
political
that.
discussions
Yeah.
here. And you can interject that. Sometimes the guys aren't really good at that. I don't know. We don't always know what to say, or we come off wrong. But I think when the hostess comes forward and she says, these are the rules of my house, and I just want everybody to have a great meal, and I worked so hard on this meal, why don't we enjoy it?
Absolutely.
And that's all you got to say, and you just redirected that whole dinner party, went great, rather than going, boom,
Yeah.
like sinking.
Exactly, that's so true. So this is Marianne.
Marianne, hi.
Yeah.
Hi. I have a question and possibly a statement depending on how you answer it.
Right.
You have such incredible stories about your life and your design. Are you documenting these? Are you
I know,
writing
he
them
should.
down? And
Oh
if you
my
are not, then
gosh.
there's the statement to please
Oh, thank you.
document them.
I really appreciate that you asked that question. Next week I'm turning 70, so that's a really big number for me. I didn't know if I would live this long, honestly. So I'm so happy. Every day of life is so precious to me. And I've written 3 books that have documented a lot of my life. But I've never really sat down and written my autobiography, and that's what I'm working on right now. And
I think you need a documentary versus an autobiography. Like
I think a documentary
book
would
is
be great.
But I think because you're so like personable,
thank you,
and because I can just envision, you know, I know how everyone here at Market was going. You know him, please, like find out about him. It's almost like they're afraid to ask you.
Yeah,
and
I
I'm
think
like,
people
he
get a little
is one of the
intimidated.
nicest people you will meet.
Thank
and
you.
And they said, you know, I think he's just an actor. And I was like, no, he's much more than an actor. I said, but that's a compliment too.
Yes, it is.
Because,
it is.
Because you have the ability, like you were saying earlier, to transpose yourself from film to acting to.
I'm wearing a lot of
fashion,
hats.
Yeah, you are. But they all meld together.
Oh, thank you.
And it's great to be good on camera. And,
It is.
And eat well and treat yourself well.
It is.
You know, and the self-care part, I think, is a big thing that none of we all
True.
struggle with.
I think a lot of people, you know, are a little taken back because I do a lot of things in life. I just had a lot of abilities, and it's not because it's all about me, but I just jump in and do what's not been done.
Absolutely.
So when I first came to Vegas, people came up to me and they said, well, how do you stay so active? And I don't really have aches and pains like in arthritis like other guys my age. So how are you doing that? And I said, in one word, yoga. And so because I said that on an interview, I ended up doing the yoga centers. The first one's on the Strip at Mandarin Oriental and at Spa at Caesar's Palace. I went in with a hard hat, carved the yoga centers out of, you know, what were storage areas. And because I did that, I was teaching yoga, you know, I kind of became this emblem of senior health. And then this year I got the nationwide TV commercial for Medicare and for Healthy
really?
Looks Good
Did
on You.
you really?
So
Oh
my commercial
gosh.
played 4 times during the Super Bowl. I'm on billboards on the I-15 going to LA 40 feet high saying healthy looks good on you.
Yeah.
And so when you get that kind of branding, you have to step up. I can't go have a Big Mac, you know, like I go and try to have a spinach salad because people are looking at it. It's healthy, looks good on you guys eating a piece of cheesecake, you know.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a big brand that you have to
That's
be
gonna leave me.
careful.
What is your biggest splurge?
My biggest splurge?
Yeah.
Well, I would say probably a spa treatment.
Oh.
I love to go, you know, really treat myself, good massage, body work, spend a day, you know, like in whatever things I can soak in, you know. I think that's very, very important for the body. You know, shiatsu. So that's,
What about
I'm a spa
food
guy.
splurge? Come on. You
Well,
gotta have
food
something.
splurge, I have to admit that I really love Indian food.
Oh, I love Indian food.
I'm
What's your
just
favorite
crazy about like probably I'm gonna say like maybe a chicken tikka
dish?
masala.
We can share it. We can
I
share
would
a chicken
love
tikka
that.
masala.
And
Where do you like to go here in Vegas?
I love to go to Gaylord's. You know, Gaylord's is really, really great. And then also there's a number of places like India Palace and Origins India. I actually did a lot of interior design there. And,
Did you?
And
Okay.
I'm deeply into feng shui.
Okay.
So I teach feng shui at UNLV.
Okay.
And the Indians have a form of feng shui a lot of people don't know about. It's called Vastu.
Okay.
So now I'm into Vastu. And so the Indian restaurants are all grabbing me like, would you do Vastu on a restaurant? It needs to have a better flow.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking at water features, bringing in plants, having the right candles, and kind of help them to have an atmosphere. So when you eat, you just feel peaceful and a little bit of sitar music. And man, that's my big splurge in terms of food.
Well, that's one. I think that's one of the things that you and I really have in common is that you love to design for the experience, for people to have a good experience.
I do,
Because
yeah.
If I say if I don't like to design when people aren't going to experience the space, and I really care about how they're going to experience it.
Exactly.
So, do you have any of your tips that you can share for the experience portion?
Absolutely. Well, and certainly in terms of the feng shui. If you're learning something about feng shui, feng means wind, shui means water.
Okay.
And feng means qi, energy. So the word energy and inner qi, that's the same word.
Oh, yeah, it is. Okay.
So you want to have qi, you want to have energy in whatever you design. And shui to the Chinese means money. Water means money.
Oh, okay.
So you have to have energy
I did not know that.
and sustainability.
Okay.
So those are two things that I look at a lot here in Vegas, and certainly when I'm working in casinos, I do a lot of casino designs like restaurants, public space areas and all of that. I'm looking at the feng shui because our best gamblers are all from Asia. And if they're not comfortable, we don't make any money. They won't even come in.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
I've seen some casinos, they made $15 million mistakes. I had to go in and change. They would not walk through the mouth of the lion at MGM.
Yeah.
So we had to take that whole entryway down, cost $15 million. So you can make a big mistake if you don't know something about feng shui. And I think that's a great thing if you have that opportunity at a university. Go study with somebody like me. I teach at UNLV. It's so many
And it's
decorating
just that's a continuing education course.
It's a continuing education.
So you don't have to. It's not anything
No.
required.
And you can take Chinese philosophy. I also teach in that department as a GE, but
I love UNLV. I learned photography there.
oh yeah,
Videography there.
Oh.
And just as continuing education.
it's amazing. I
Yeah.
co-teach with Dr. Jameson from Stanford, and I'm
Nice.
from Berkeley. He's from Stanford. I mean, these are really high quality
Yeah, no, they are. They are
classes.
like- yeah, it's
in
amazing
philosophy.
how the professors like yourself
Yeah.
are beyond educated, and they're right here in Las Vegas.
And true guru mentors, to
Yes,
help
they
you
are. Yep.
figure this out. So I think that's a great tip there. Know a little bit about feng shui, and because a lot of times people just take classes in business, class in design theory, and that's it. They're done.
Yep.
But you need to also kind of explore in philosophy, all of those things, a little bit of
That's true.
psychology,
Yes.
because you work so intimately
That's
with
great
people.
advice. Great advice.
Yeah.
Do you ladies have any other questions for Doc?
Did I answer your question, or was I way off
Yeah.
field? Okay.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Do you ladies
Great.
have any other questions?
I think the last thing I would ask you is, are you always doing a lot of formal digging into different ways of designing, or is it just a natural ability for you?
I think it's a little bit of both because, like I said, I started at 14, doing visual display for my parents. And so that was a natural ability. I had no training, but my grandparents are from France. And so I grew up in a beautiful home, 24 rooms, all antiques. And so I grew up with a grandmother who had that je ne sais quoi,
Yeah.
and I'm sure I absorbed a lot just vicariously being near such a cultured woman. But then I started traveling a lot and looking at installations. If I go to New Orleans, all I do is I just go see period homes. I love period
Yes, that's what I
restorations.
do. Okay, so one thing that I do when I'm traveling, and it doesn't matter where I'm at, but I will go in, and I know most people would never do this, and sometimes I just have to go on my own.
Yeah.
Because I will go in gates and ask if I can see inside people's homes.
I wish I was as bold as you because I sure have it in my heart.
I mean, if
I want to do. I want to
no, I
look.
do that, and you know what? Most of the time they're like super honored. They're like, "Sure, come on in."
Because people, I think
Yeah.
they are honored when
Yeah.
they know who
They do
you
know,
are,
yeah.
and that we're people who are professionals in the
Yeah.
industry, and we're not taking anything away. We just want to be inspired,
exactly, yes,
But
exactly.
certainly, I love in the Vieux Carré, in New Orleans. I'm looking through those gates, and I'm like, look at the staghorn ferns. Look at the placement of that statue, and
Yes.
a little bit of moss. That's perfect. What an area,
And when you were talking about your entertaining earlier, it reminded me of my grandmother, because one thing growing up with my grandmother, she would not ever serve out of plastic. There was no plastic allowed on the table. There was always a tablecloth.
I'm the same
And
way.
she would say, if you could afford dishes and nicer containers, you should put your food in.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I know people that have gorgeous china. It sits on the wall.
Yes.
And they're serving me with a paper plate. I'm
Yes.
like, excuse me, this is me.
Okay.
I'm here for
I have a
You
family member that loves to do that.
Go get the plates off
And
the wall.
I'm just like, if my grandmother Martha would roll over dead
Exactly.
in her grave if she knew.
Or they've got gorgeous silver, like a gorgeous silver coffee tea set, and it's sitting over there, and they're serving me in a plastic cup. I'm like, I want to be served
Yeah,
out of that.
exactly.
This
Yes,
is Doc. I'm
yes.
visiting your house.
Yes.
I don't know when I'll be back. I'll
Yeah.
give you my good silver.
Yeah.
You give me yours.
Absolutely.
So why not get it out and
What are
use
people
it?
saving it for, right?
You're gonna save it. You'll leave
Yeah.
it to your kids, and they're
No.
gonna put it in a yard sale. I'm just saying, use it, love it. Why you got it?
Speaking of yard sales and thrifting, do you ever go thrifting? Do you?
Is the Pope Catholic?
Oh,
Yes.
I think I've sold a lot of cash chandeliers. What about you?
Oh gosh, me too. Oh yes. Well, it's all about the lighting. And I think he does it beautifully, and that whole idea of the steampunk, kind of retro, a little touch of Victorianism, and as I keep telling people, I think the future's the past.
Absolutely.
It's
it
time
certainly
travel.
is. Do you know, I was interviewing Nick yesterday, and every project he's ever had has started with one light.
Sure.
One
It's a great
light.
place to start.
And if he hadn't taken that project for one light,
Yeah.
then he wouldn't, he might not be here today.
No, it wouldn't be what's happening. That's how you do it.
Doc, have you had projects like that where you almost didn't want to take, because it was like so small or seemed like so minuscule that you thought, like...
I never really think that way. I just only say yes.
Okay.
That's pretty much been my philosophy. I don't care if it's large or small. You start out with one little thing with someone. I have a lovely lady here in town that she said, I just need a sofa. That's all my husband will let me buy. I just finished doing like a 7,000 square foot house for her in Summerlin, and that was where our journey started. I'm so glad I said yes.
To the one sofa.
And not only was it a gorgeous sofa that we did, but I made a friend that I know she'll be my friend my entire life.
Oh,
You know what I'm
that's so
saying?
Nice. That's
So
the best.
sometimes, she said, I don't even want to bother you with this job. I know how big and how important you are. And I said, never think that way about me. Come on, let's go do it and have fun.
That's what I love about you, is because you are so real.
Thank you.
You're always well dressed, and people think, well, who is he? Even some of the designers here have asked me, like, you know him? And I'm like, yes, that's Doc. And they're like, oh, well, can you find out more about him? Is he really a designer? And I'm like, yes, he really is. But we're going to find out more about his projects, because I haven't even heard about your latest projects in the castles.
Oh,
I
yeah.
just knew the last time I was chatting with you on Instant Message, you were in France.
Yes, I was in south of France living. I have a villa in Tourette-sur-Loup. It's a little town 18 miles north of Cannes in the French Alps. And I just met these people there. They have a walled village. And I started looking at the celebrities that lived in this little town. Prince.
Oh, really?
David
I love
Niven.
Prince. Oh.
And if you ever saw the movie To Catch a Thief,
Yes.
that was the villa Cary Grant was in the town I lived in.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm like, I want to live in that villa.
And
if I live-
didn't they like name a day or something, or they recognized you?
They did. They gave me a key to the city, and they call me Monsieur Laviolette because I showed up in an all-purple suit.
Oh.
And the
my
whole town has
gosh.
violet ice cream, violet candies come from this
Wow,
town.
I love French violet.
Violet perfume, violet liqueur in Dom Perignon. Need I say more?
No, you don't have to say more. You said Dom Perignon and violet in the
Violet
same,
liqueur. And so what a lot of very savvy people did was they went to this old medieval crumbling down city and carved out gorgeous boutiques.
Wow.
And put in the best lighting, the best floors. So you're almost like you're shopping in a cave. It's these old French walls, but gorgeous silver jewelry, chic kind of, boutiques for great clothes, hats, gloves, candles. And so here I'm the only decorator sitting there. I'm like going to town. Move that light in over there. We're putting Poggenpal over there.
Yeah.
Let's bring Pace in there.
Yeah. And I'm sure obviously they love you.
They
the key
won't.
to the city. That's not.
They don't want me to leave.
I was gonna
They're
say,
like, just
that's not
move
anything
in.
they take too kindly. The French with the Americans. Come on.
Oh, they're so nice
so
to me.
nice. I know.
And I'm living in basically a villa.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, wonderful, it's gorgeous, I love it. Now, how do I cook? Where's the food? And the lady that takes care of my house, she said, oh, we don't have markets here. We go to farmers.
Oh, wow.
So I walk in and I say, I'll take a dozen eggs, and he hands me an empty egg carton.
Really?
So here I'm in Dolce
You're-
Gabbana
you're-
underneath a hand going, I know it's something under there. Really, it's okay. And every 5 minutes, I'm like, well, I'm in Provence, I feel like Paris Hilton, and the simple life. I need some carrots. Oh, you pull them out of the ground. Okay, that's all good. But
And how does lavender grow? To make your French lavender soap.
and all these rich people living there shopping on farms. But I think the beauty is that you get into your spices. They're teaching me, oh, this spice is not for the omelette. This spice is for the poulet,
Oh, yeah.
And so So now I'm cooking like Julia Childs. You know, I'm putting spices in over here, and I'm stirring this up. And that cheese
So you
that was
cook.
aged for 10 years in a cave. Okay, I'll take it. And, you know, so-
And do you like, how do you know how to cook too?
oh, I'm so into it.
Are you
I'm so
really?
into it now.
Oh
Well,
my
one of my clients was Julia Childs. So she showed up in my office in West Hollywood. She said, I've just built this gorgeous house in Santa Barbara. Will you take me shopping? So here I'm with Julia, and she's like, Paul, come on. Do you like that lamp Doc likes? I'm like, well, yeah, I like that. So I'm selecting things for her house. Then, after I decorated her house, she cooked for me. I could have died and gone to heaven. Just saying.
Wow.
There are
I
some
cannot-
fringe
I was
benefits to
gonna say,
decorating.
I cannot even imagine.
Oh my God! You just want
I would
you're
just be
eating
happy
with Julia
meet-
Childs.
I
You're
was
like,
I would just be happy meeting her, much less eating her food.
every bite
Yeah.
is like ecstasy. You know, you think you're ascending, and we
I'm
really
jealous.
did a cute house for her. It was her dream house. She was very successful.
Yeah.
And
how did you two connect?
well, we basically connected. I was one of the first people who was a designer who put a shop in the Pacific Design Center in Los Angeles. So we opened that building in 1980, and I just thought, well, why not put a little office in there and I'll just go shop all the people. So we had all these beautiful lines like Needler Faucher, Stockwell, Mitchell Mann, Pace, Stephen Stark, Dongia. Everything was up on this floor where I could just pull this and pull that and pull that.
And
so
you were just there.
I was there, you know, just as a resource person. This wonderful.
But you were well dressed while you were there.
Always.
Yeah.
Always,
You weren't
my whole
running-
life.
Hold on, wait. You were not running around High Point in your yoga pants.
No.
Okay.
No.
We were not running around in our pajamas.
No. I tell my students that UNLV pajamas are not day wear, dears. You'll never get a job. You have to step it up and coordinate your clothing.
Yep.
One day.
Don't you think a sign of coordinating your clothing is kind of like I can coordinate your house if I can coordinate your clothing?
Well, I certainly believe that, and my new movie is called Duds, and it's clothes make
called
the man.
Duds?
Duds.
D-U-D-D-S?
Like duds or clothes, you know, like
D-U-D-S?
D-U-D-S.
Okay.
So I play a homeless guy, who's you know, and in those days they
He's
called
not
him
homeless.
they called him a hobo, right?
Yeah,
you were a
yeah,
hobo.
yeah.
And I'm jumping trains, and suddenly a big Louis Vuitton case falls off the train track, and I look inside, top hats, tails, cufflinks, and I'm like, Christmas in July. And so I changed my clothes, and I go from like, could you give a guy a dime, to, oh sir, you coming to our fashion show today? You know.
Oh, wow.
So the whole movie is about how clothes make the man, and I think that's a little bit of the story of my whole life. You know, I learned through the fashion industry what designers I loved and how to put myself together. Because if you're working in LA and you're working in Hollywood, you have to look the part.
Yeah, you gotta stand out.
I'm shopping with Barbara Streisand. I had a lovely lady come to my office. She said, I just saw a home you did. My son Michael's building a house, and we'd like for you to do the home. And I said, oh, sure, fine, just fine. Here, have a coffee. And she goes, no, I'll be right back. Janet and LaToya are in the car.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, that's Michael Jackson's mother, Catherine. And so I ended up.
She used to buy my mom's hand-painted wares.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
She was
she's so
such a
nice.
sweet person.
And she loves artists.
I went from having an office, next thing I know I'm shopping with Michael Jackson, and I did his first home on Havenhurst when he moved to Encino, right after the Thriller album, so he was a billionaire.
Oh my gosh.
And we built this gorgeous house. We had so much fun together. I love shopping with him. He's usually in disguise.
What did you learn from him?
I think Michael has a heart of gold. You know, he just wanted to help everybody, and maybe it made him a little vulnerable. You know, he was misunderstood, but I never saw him do anything bad except just try to make everybody's dreams come true if he could.
Wow.
So I think if I learned anything from Michael, it was like how to be kind.
Yeah.
Because in spite of being a huge giant star, he was so kind.
To everyone.
And he probably saw me as a crazy guy, but I would be the guy that said, no, Michael, you cannot gild a Tudor ceiling. You can't gild it. We leave that wood, you know. So I was always trying to kind of shape, you know, the way that we did that home, but it was a great home and a wonderful installation. I'm still friends with LaToya and Janet. And,
that's so nice. Because when you have relationships like that, this is such a relationship-based business that there's no way you're gonna like just stop something like when a project is finished.
It's an intimate experience. You end up living with people, and they've got to really trust you. And then there's a gray line about where the friendship starts and stops because they're depending on you for so many things. So, like one day, Michael said, "Would you like to go to Disneyland, Doc?" And I'm like, "I want to go to Disneyland, but this is gonna be a mob scene. I'm gonna die. I'm with Michael Jackson." And he goes, "No, that's not how I do it." So you know how he went to Disneyland?
How?
I was Pluto and he was Goofy. That for a day,
Are you kidding
I got to
me?
be Pluto.
Oh
That's
my
how he would go to Disneyland, so he gets to have fun. And he's waving and taking pictures with kids. So I just revealed a big secret here on your show.
Yeah.
I was
That's
Pluto.
awesome.
Michael Jackson was Goofy. We're on Splash Mountain.
Awesome.
I said, I didn't know that was in my job description, but
But you still went with it.
I went with it.
Yeah.
We had a ball because we wanted to look at certain architectural nuances.
Yes.
And so we're inside the Blue Bayou restaurant. I'm looking at little things. He goes, could I put that in a rec room? Sure.
Yeah.
Could I do that wallpaper?
Yeah.
I can do that wallpaper. So you never.
Because there's no better design than Disney World.
No, it's so cool, And so I guess what I'm trying to say to everybody out there is don't limit yourself, think big, and you just have to keep yourself open to really go with your clients to solve all the problems.
Yep.
More than being, this hierarchical interior designer that says you can do that, you can't do that. I see myself as a problem solver.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, I want that chandelier, but I don't have room for it. Okay, let me see if I can scale it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, yes.
And so I think so
because
often
anything is possible.
Anything's possible.
Anything is possible. You're not having to just go with the chandelier at 8 feet high. Matter of fact,
Well, it's true.
Yeah, and like one thing I love about the pieces that Nick actually has here is they're so adjustable.
So
already,
adjustable.
And you can make it so that it adjusts and
I did the best installation with Nick recently, and it's in Burbank, California, and it's a fabulous winery, right? But we went into a warehouse space that was not attractive. I was like, oh, what are we doing here? And gutted the place. And the next thing I said, let's take out the ceiling. I want to go all the way up to the wood. When I got the ceiling out, it was all chevron. And I said, do you know what Nick Allen chandeliers are going to look like against that ceiling? So I started taking lights like that. Nick and I started working together, making these wonderful little steampunk pin drops. And I asked the people, can I do steampunk here? And they're like, well, it's kind of different. What is it? And I said, well, it's Victorian science fiction.
Okay.
And think 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Think about Around the World in 80 Days. Think about Victorians who are coming to the future on some kind of time machine.
I think I was supposed to be born then, but you definitely were supposed to be born
Oh my
then.
God. I think reincarnation or something because it just is way too comfortable.
Yeah.
And wow, that installation, one of the most
Well,
popular.
maybe we can get a photo and put it in the studio.
I will give you one
Yes,
because you'll
please.
just see how great the
Oh, my
steampunk
goodness.
stuff looks even in a
and
warehouse
steampunk,
setting.
like I think people have a myth about steampunk, about how it can be worked in to various projects. You
right.
don't have to have everything
No.
Nick Allen and everything steampunky looking.
Well,
But-
no, I think that
But trust me, I think it's great if you can get by with it. But
most people it's sparing.
I was gonna say traditional clients.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of great installations in traditional and modern homes that have this fantastic lighting.
Too much of a good thing sometimes is too much of a good thing.
Yeah,
And
that's
I
true,
think
yeah.
one of the things that age has taught me is the power of moderation.
Yeah.
In everything that you do. So that you don't ruin a good thing, just bring in that steampunk sofa with maybe like a steampunk light, maybe one of the clocks.
Yeah.
And that's enough. You don't want to bombard people to where the whole
Yeah.
thing's ticking
Yeah.
and moving and kinetic and
Even though
your mother
that
is
is
like, I
fun.
can't come visit you anymore. This is just too much. So I try to do it with a little bit of moderation where, let's say I have one client, she loves steampunk and she loves things from India. Okay. So how are you going to fit those two things together?
Yeah.
And so I was sitting there and I'm thinking, well, India was the jewel in the crown, right,
Yeah.
for Queen
Yeah, it
Victoria.
was, yes.
And you have that whole idea, the British Raj, where they kind of did a mashup British architecture in India, and then they put an onion dome, like on an old British building. So they made everything look a little bit British, a little bit Indian, and a little bit steampunk.
That's true. And now that you're saying this, you're exactly right.
So I brought in pictures of old trains from India with all these people riding on the trains, and then I would get some Indian cool thing like a clock, but it still had a little bit of a British steampunk clock kind of turning thing, and then maybe a doll from Rajasthan, and then a nice shawl diagonally over a sofa, and now you have this idea of texture and this idea of color. And don't be afraid of colors.
Exactly.
If especially,
I'm the queen of color.
Well, I think I am too.
I cannot do a space. I mean, it can be all white and layered texture. I can do that. But anything aside from like an all white, with like natural woods, anything else is like I long for
plus
color.
that idea of boho is so in right now.
Exactly.
So everybody wants a bohemian. Kind of the new Bohemian look, which I really, really love. But they want that little nuance in their steampunk to keep interest and to have a conversation piece. So that's how you do it. You really get in there and select something, look at the textures, look at the scale, look at the size, and you even like what this is here, you take a couple of old books and you put a very cool accoutrement on top of that. And people are going to look at that saying, wow, that means something. It looks old, it looks elegant. That is a big secret to making design just fabulous. Really have a flair.
There's no better person to do that than you.
Well, thank you. That's a huge compliment.
We thank you for just being on to
My
educate
pleasure.
the decor bosses, and I'm definitely going to have you back on again because guess what? I'm going to come to Lavenderland.
Okay, come on.
I'm coming to France.
Come to the Côte d'Azur.
Côte d'Azur.
It's beautiful because you have the Cannes Film Festival. You'll see every star there. I'm with Selma Hayek. I'm with Kate Blanchett. They're in these gorgeous gowns.
I'm going to come hang out with him.
And that's a beautiful thing. And then at the end of the day, I'm able to get in my car and drive to the Alps and to this villa. And where I live, right across from me, is the Chanel factory. And it's where they make Chanel No. 5, and I wake up every morning and I'm like, oh my God.
You can't beat that.
Not only is it gorgeous, it smells good.
I grew up next to the Wrigley's chewing gum factory.
Oh, well, see.
So you got to smell like juicy fruit.
That does smell good.
So, yeah, it does smell really
I
good.
do like that smell. But, I think it's all part of it. France is a wonderful country, I think, for an American to go to get a good idea about class and culture, and the
design.
way that the way that they put their clothes and their fabrics and all of that together. And in the south of France, everybody's so nice.
Paris. If you
Well,
think of architecture of Paris.
I just can't get enough of Paris.
of
I
course.
walk around, and I know Americans are always saying, well, how can you go there? The French are so mean.
No, they're not.
But they're so nice. Really, they will just bend over backwards to help you in any way that they can. And where I live, my neighbors knock on the door and hey, would you like some artichokes from my garden? I'm like, oh, I love Vive la France.
Yeah, you don't get that in Las Vegas.
No, it's just it's so wonderful, and I think it's a great journey for us all to go on to see those European roots, and to see the sensibilities in our design work, to pull from that in what you do.
That's great advice.
It will give you
travel,
something.
everybody. Save your travel bucks.
Travel's the best university. It's
is.
the best university. And who knows, you might walk away like I did this time. I've got dear friends that every time they send me an email, I get a tear in my eye because
you want to go back.
I'm missing them so bad. And the fact that I'm an American, they're French, and we have so much love for one another.
That's awesome.
That's something that just makes your life rich.
So if you could tell your 19-year-old self something, what would you tell your 19-year-old self?
Well, I would have told I think the greatest thing I learned since I was 19 was the fine art of patience. Especially when you're decorating, because I remember when I first got started, and I'm like, where's that fabric? It was supposed to be here 2 weeks ago. And I call them up. And now I'm like, I don't need a heart attack.
No.
So I tell my clients, look, this is going to be a journey. If you want it right, it's going to take a little bit of time. And we're having a lot of stuff handmade. So don't freak out. Let's have a cappuccino.
Exactly.
Love the journey. And some I even get to travel with me. You know,
Yeah,
I
that's
want to
awesome.
take them to where I'm from so that
Yeah.
they end up with that sort of sense of class
Yes.
and that sense of hospitality.
Yeah.
And we create a gorgeous house, wear the right clothes, do it the right way, set the table beautifully, and when you entertain, you will be the apple of all your friends' eyes. They'll all
That's
look
true.
up to you.
Yes, because you know what? They appreciate the gift of hospitality.
The gift of hospitality, and we are mentors.
Yes.
We are the gurus of our
And
culture.
you are now a decor boss mentor.
Well, I love
Yeah.
that. I love being part of Decor Boss. And to all you designers out there, never give up. Just keep your businesses going. I promise you, if you go the journey, you're going to be successful. And remember, if you are a friend, you'll always have one. If you're a friend, you'll always have one. So make friendships and make peace with people. Everybody, they'll love you much more with a little bit of sweetness rather than so much vinegar. You know.
You know what? That is great advice to end on, Doc. I mean, we
Thank
could not
you.
have a better ending than that. Thank you, my love.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Mwah.
Great to see you.
So, everybody, make sure that you subscribe below because we're definitely having Doc on again.
Hey,
Maybe from
yeah.
Paris
I would love that.
or
The Côte d'Azur.
Côte d'Azur.
Côte
Okay,
d'Azur.
I need to work on my French after I finish my Spanish. But we'll definitely have Doc back on because he is so intelligent and beyond anything that we really have in Decor Boss as far as our design, makeup. And thank you.
It's a pleasure
Yeah.
to be here.
Make sure that you guys do subscribe and give a thumbs up if you like.
You're too much fun.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Thank you all. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thanks for joining us for today's episode of Decor Boss TV, sponsored by over 200 designers at Decorating Den Interiors. Stay posted to your Decor Boss group notifications and emails for opportunities to participate as a co-host at the next Meet and Mentor recordings. Be featured at the monthly Decor Boss by visiting the Decor Boss Facebook page photo albums. Comment below if you'd like to schedule a complimentary one-on-one consultation with a business coach. Until next time, design your own best boss. Be a Decor Boss.